And first, let's start with the roll call.
Council members, directors, commissioners, Elias.
Here.
Camacho.
Here.
Laura.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Mayor, Chairman, President, Dr. Sanchez.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Yes, please rise.
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we look for your wisdom, integrity, unity in today's council meeting. May it be productive and benefit our city in every way. Help us stay on track and keep focused on what is right and just. Help us to consider all the facts and to come to a definitive plan of action concerning our community as a whole. Help us make our decision and vote as if you were in the chair next to us. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the flag salute. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we have a special presentation. It is Municipal Clerks Week, May 1st through 7th. We're a little bit early, celebrating a little bit early, but we don't have City Council meeting that week. So I have an official certificate here for our wonderful city clerks. So would you like to come up to receive the certificate, please? Geneva as well, too.
Thank you. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I remember how many years.
9 years.
9 years.
Until 11 o'clock at night.
Thank you.
He wants one more?
One more.
Thank you very much. We are very much appreciative of your acknowledgement. Thank you. And I want to thank my staff, Cynthia Ayala and Genevieve Martinez, for doing such a great job in making sure that you get your agendas on time and that we provide the external and internal customer that is necessary to get you what you need and what you want. So we are your public servants, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. And our city clerk, Anna Jerome, she's coming up on her 10 years here, almost 10 years with our city. So thank you very much, ladies. I recognize that there are administrative behind the scenes, and usually we don't say anything. We don't thank them sometimes, unless something goes wrong. We're all over you, right? So I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you do. Let's go. City Manager, are there any changes to our agenda today?
Just a closed session. Mayor, City Council, closed session, one item, labor negotiation has been pulled.
Okay, thank you. Our first item, we go into public hearing for item number 1 through 3.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. We have 3 public hearings tonight scheduled. The first item is a public hearing regarding fiscal year 2022-2023 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan. I believe this item, the recommendation is to continue the hearing to the meeting of June 28th, 2022. It does not require council to open the public hearing, just requires a motion and a second to take a unanimous consent vote to continue.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Motion unanimous. Second item?
The second item is a public hearing regarding conditional use permit number 750, general plan amendment number 60, zone reclassification number 327, major variance number 191, zoning code amendment number 189, and mitigated negative declaration for a public storage facility located at 6605 Rosemead Boulevard. At this time, there's a staff presentation.
If needed, there's a staff presentation ready.
Would the council like to see a presentation, or are there any questions regarding this item?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to see a presentation.
This time, I'll turn it over to our director, Mike Garcia.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, we have an item before you which is taking into consideration multiple planning actions. It's on a property that had previously, it's been sitting vacant for quite some time. Previously, it had gone through a planning process to allow for a Candlewood Suites. The proposal in front of the City Council and that was approved by the Planning Commission is for a zone reclassification, a major variance, a zone code amendment, approval of a mitigated negative declaration, and a general plan amendment for a public storage facility located at 6605 Rosemead Boulevard. First slide, please. Next slide. This is a public hearing action. This provides an aerial view of the site. It's in between the Angels Motel and Pico Rivera Gardens. It is a site that has been sitting vacant for a while, and the proposal is to change it from a general plan, general commercial zoning designation and to put it into a professional administrative zone, which would match with the zones to the north and to the south. Next slide.
Now Motel 6, correct?
That's correct. Very good. Next slide, please. The proposal is anticipating a 4-story high public storage with decorative windows encompassing 63,000 square feet. Next slide. It includes many design features. It includes parking and bays for drop-off and pickup of items from the location, including a leasing office, and it's going to provide a look of an office building along Rosemead Boulevard. Next slide. It's going to be completely accessed from an interior hallways, which is going to provide a lot of security for folks that are thinking of renting some of the public storage locations. And most of the locations are going to be 5'8" by 7'3", with a 4-foot clearing to get items into the storage bins. Next slide. They provided for security and fire access plans that have been approved by LA County Fire Department with a 28-foot fire lane. Next slide. And so the item was taken to Planning Commission after deliberation. They were in agreement, and it passed unanimously that the item should be moved on to City Council for its consideration to consider General Plan Amendment number 60, Zone Code Amendment number 189, Zone Reclassification number 327, Conditional Use Permit number 750, and a variance permit number 191. These would allow for variances for the floor area ratio, the height deviation, and some setbacks. And I do have my deputy director here who served as a project lead on this, and questions would probably best be directed to her since this is her area of expertise. But I'm happy to see how I can answer any questions on this item. I do not believe there's an additional PowerPoint slide. Oh, there is. I'm sorry. It gets into much more greater detail on the floor area ratio and other definitions if council so desires. So this would be increasing the floor area ratio from a 0.25 that's allowed in that commercial land use area to a 0.75. Next slide. It's going to change the language regarding self-storage facilities, and that is going to be codified in Chapter 18.04.760 of the Pico Rivera Municipal Code. And you can see the proposed language there. Next slide. The zone code amendment would allow the self-storage facility use to be added as a land use within that professional and administrative zone. Next slide. And it makes changes to the code to, again, further allow the self-storage facilities within that professional and administrative zone. It shall not allow any additional self-storage facilities within 1,000 feet of the facility, and we think in that professional and administrative zone it would work well. Next slide. So on top of your typical actions that you would allow within a self-storage facility, we want to make sure that they are continuing to monitor any hazardous materials that would be stored. There would not be allowed any habitation within these storage units. And the way the security plan and design has been prepared for this location, we believe it's going to be very well secured and provide a nice amenity to the Rosemead Boulevard on the western side of the street, the look of that portion of Rosemead Boulevard between Washington and Mines. Next slide. This gets into a little more detail about the parking details for this storage facility and the number of parking spaces for visitors who are coming to drop off or to pick up items. Next slide. The zone reclassification would be changing from what the general plan amendment of 2014 had done, which was to change it to allow for the Candlewood Suites proposal at that time and put it back towards the professional administrative as it had been historically in that area. Next slide. Here you see another color-coded zoning map to show what that zone reclassification would look like. Next slide. This provides a lot of the allowed elevations at 42 feet. The proposal would add an additional 10 feet to this building. There was a public hearing that was conducted and public community meetings that were conducted, and up to this point we had not received, during the Planning Commission approval, we had not received from either that public hearing or the community meetings any comments from the public, negatively or positively. I do not believe anything came in on this. But Julio would have better idea about that. Next slide. This provides some elevations as would be seen from the neighborhood to the west, and it shows in the middle picture there the additional 10 feet that would be viewable from the streets to the west. Next slide. The traffic impacts that might be born from this property and from this activity were studied, and Public Works assisted through their traffic engineer to analyze traffic demands and peak hour volumes. Next slide. The community outreach in January and in February were conducted. There were no comments or objections that were received on this project. I know that the staff worked diligently to try to present a nice facade from all elevations. Next slide. Additionally, a landscape plan that a planning staff worked on would work well with some drought tolerant and some native plant materials that would add a nice feature to that portion of Rosemead. A lot of that area does not have a lot of new landscaping, so this would be a nice amenity. Next slide. The mitigated negative declaration was circulated and provided to the Office of Planning and Research, and there was a less than significant impact that would occur for this use, and a mitigation monitoring and reporting program was prepared. Next slide. So the recommendation before City Council tonight is to consider the General Plan Amendment number 60, the Zone Code Amendment number 189, Zone Reclassification number 327, Conditional Use Permit number 750, the Major Variance number 191, the Mitigated Negative Declaration and Mitigation Monitoring Program that would also be approved as part of the CEQA process for this proposed self-storage facility. So if there are any questions for Mayor, City Council that I could answer, or maybe my Deputy Director as well.
Okay, let's go with Councilmember Elias.
How many people will this storage place employ?
It's going to be a low employment use. I want to say that they're going to have one on-site manager and from time to time security staff that would come to the location.
You know that we have a scarcity of property here in Pico Rivera.
That's correct.
And that the land is precious. Mm-hmm. And we're going to build another storage situation here. You know, I don't like the idea that we have so many warehouses to begin with. Mm-hmm. But to add an additional one, I don't think it's using the property wisely. The Corps of Engineers estimates that there's 65,000 cars that go up and above Rosemead Boulevard. Okay? It's a precious situation that we must utilize, and I don't think a storage facility is going to be the proper place to put on Rosemead Boulevard. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I'm concerned about is this, is that I know that the place has been vacant for a number of years because of the neighbor. Okay, because of the neighbor, and that has caused a depreciation of the surrounding properties. Now, am I correct?
I do not know why that property was vacant. I know it was a difficult site for a hotel development.
One last item. The population of Pico Rivera is declining. So is the enrollment. The last thing we need is a storage facility in our city when we need housing and we need other things to attract capital and capital improvements.
Thank you, Council Member.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Garcia, thank you for the presentation. I'd like to go back to slide number 2.
Very good.
And that shows the zoning. Mm-hmm. If we can show that on the screen. And that shows the zoning for the property in question and the two adjacent properties to the left and the right.
That's correct.
All three properties are going to be PA, professional administrative. Are both the hotel on the south end of the proposed storage facility and the assisted living on the north end of the proposed storage facility, are they at the moment legal non-conforming?
They are not. They are actual legal uses within that professional administrative zone, to my knowledge. Julia, is the Motel 6 now in a legal non-conforming status in that professional administrative?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Yes, it is legal non-conforming at this point.
And, okay, so that is legal non-conforming. And the property on the north, which is the Pico Gardens, is that also legal non-conforming?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this project here bringing something, a little some aesthetic beauty to the street. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. Do any of my colleagues? I have a question. How long has this property been vacant? Did you mention that?
I am uncertain if it's 25 or
It's been vacant for 42 years.
42 years. So over 42 years, there's been no proposals for development or sales?
There has been proposals. The last proposal was for a hotel development that did not pan out for many reasons. Yeah, there have been proposals, but no development.
And why do you anticipate that this?
The hotel development, they didn't really estimate the costs associated with the property correctly. The water level was too high, and they didn't anticipate for that. I think it's a difficult site to build because you have so much commercial activity on Washington and Rosemead. So retail is very hard to locate in that location. As well as the location next to an adult residential facility and a motel housing, in my opinion, wouldn't be the best use. So I believe that's why it's been vacant for so long.
Thank you.
And just point of clarification on the water issue, we have a high water table in that area, and the proposal from the hotel, the Kenilwood Suites, was to go down 1.5 floors below grade to be able to meet the parking requirements. That's what that was concern.
Thank you. Let's go, Councilmember
Thank you.
Lara.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's my understanding that this was a single-family residence at one point in time, and then in 1980, they tore it down. And then it was initially rated as PA, correct? But then in 2011, City Council changed the zoning to CG in preparation for a hotel. So what we're just doing is reverting it back to what it historically was as PA, correct? Okay, so I have no issues with that. In regards to the storage facility, I managed to speak with the developer early and their intermediaries when they were pitching this project. And I voiced some concerns about the aesthetic. I wanted to make sure that the aesthetic, the frontage of that property was going to remain clean, and it was going to be something that residents would be proud of. One thing that's a big priority in my councilship is getting rid of blight in this community. And this is what this project does, is it gets rid of blight. Would I like to see a bunch of other things in Pico Rivera? Yeah, without a doubt. I'd love there to be a Disneyland and a sports arena. But there's this thing called, private property. Private property, and that private property gives those owners the ability to build within the zoning. And if that zoning doesn't fit, then they come to city council. And then we try to change that zoning if it fits with the goals of this community. So I'm happy that this site is taking place. I look forward to it being something other than just a vacant lot, and something other than just so that we can put our political signage on it every election cycle, right? Because that's what happens. So I'm in favor when it comes time to vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Camacho.
Yeah, just adding to that, I know that, sometimes we wish to have what we don't have. And, a good example of, when we got now Burlington Coal Factory and a few of the retailers that people are saying, well, why do we get that retail store? Well, it's a lot to do with market-driven supply and demand. It's privately owned property. So, sure, we need to have more residential. Sure, we prefer to have retail. But the reality is that these are areas and spaces that we have in our city that are basically kind of got landlocked in a bit, and it's been very difficult to develop. I was here when the proposal for the hotel came to be, and we were excited, and fortunately it didn't pencil out. But there's a reason why this property has been vacant since 1980, and there is no interest of investment in any other. So for us to have a wish list is one thing, but reality is another. So I think right now that we have some potential investors to eliminate blight, as my council member Kelly mentioned, I think is true and correct, and we need to move forward on this project.
Thank you. So do I have a motion to approve?
Mayor, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Before we vote, we do need to open the public hearing.
yes, sorry.
Call the applicant up.
Okay.
And then allow the public members to provide comment,
Okay.
if any.
Thank you. Can we have the applicant come up, please? I'm ready for the action.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. My name is Adam Lentz. I am a partner with the applicant, Madison Capital Group. So rather than bore you with another presentation, would just love to quickly address a couple of the issues. One that came up was the auto traffic count on Rosemead Boulevard. And I just want to point out that if you look at the ITE manual in terms of commercial trip generation, self-storage facilities are actually the lowest trip generator of any commercial use. So I understand the concern about traffic. We all live here in the Southland, and it's everywhere. So I think in terms of trip generation, the use actually makes sense to not exacerbate an already pressing issue on Rosemead Boulevard. Just to speak quickly, when we got into this project, which we've been working on for 15 months now, really we had three main goals. One, let's build something that's safe and secure. Let's make it attractive, and then let's involve the community. One thing I do want to touch on that wasn't addressed in the earlier presentation is we took it upon ourselves to go door to door within 1,000 feet of this project, and we knocked on over 2,000 doors over a process of 2 months. Met with a lot of people, and those that we weren't able to meet with, we left behind some material. So with a phone number and a picture of the project and an email address. And out of that process, we did get a petition signed in support of the project of 214 signatures, some of whom are immediately abutting the property. And in that process as well, I think more importantly, not a single resident submitted a public comment in opposition. So I just want to put that on the record as well. And, the reason we did select this site is it's been vacant for over 4 decades, as well as alluded to earlier, it's with the commercial development, the retail just down the street. A lot of the retailers have passed this site up. So we thought it was a great low-impact use that we could make safe and secure, much more so than a blighted vacant lot. We have secure gates. You have an access. Every customer has a unique access code coming in to get in the gate, to get in the building, and then again to leave the property. So we've got, I think, 18 cameras on the first floor and 6 to 10 cameras on every floor above that. So, and it's monitored 24/7. And our customers don't have access to the facility for 24 hours a day. It's limited from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then we have a staffed office. To address the question of employment, we actually will employ 2 to 3 people. It's a little more than one, but I understand it's not the most significant employer in the community. So just wanted to touch on a few of those items. We have the project architect here tonight if you have any questions on the design features. And, I ask you to please consider this. Appreciate the process. Staff's been great. Michael Rock, contract planner, Julia, Mike, Steve, everyone's been really great to work with, responsive, and I appreciate the time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions from the council? None?
I just wanted to thank you for going out and doing that door-to-door work and, giving us that feedback in regards to what the local community has to say. I appreciate that aspect.
Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve item 2.
I'm sorry, Councilman.
Am I jumping again?
We do have to check if there are any public speakers.
Oh, are there any public
cards or
speakers
any-
regarding this item?
There are none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing none, then it would be appropriate to close the public hearing, and then council can debate and take a vote.
Okay, public hearing is closed. And do I have a motion?
Motion to approve item 2, public hearing, conditional use permit.
A second?
My second.
Okay. All in favor? Do we need to do roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay, City Clerk?
Councilmember Elias?
No. 28,000 square feet for one employee? No.
Councilmember Camacho?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lutz?
Yes.
Mayor Dr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, just to clarify, that was a motion to approve staff's entire recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Mayor, we have a third public hearing item. This third item is public hearing to adopt the American with Disabilities Act Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan. The recommendation from staff is to adopt the plan. At this time, if you would like a presentation, staff can provide it. Otherwise, it'd be appropriate to open it for a public hearing and get comments.
Do we need a presentation, or shall we open public hearing from the council? I think we can open public hearing. Do we have anyone to speak on this item?
We have no one, thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to close public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Elias?
Yes.
Councilmember Camacho?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lutz?
Yes.
Mayor Dr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we'll move into items number from our agencies tonight, our successor agency and water authority. We have items number 4 through 19.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. We have members of the public, so let's begin with individuals that would like to speak from our online.
Hi, Madam Mayor. Our speaker for tonight is Mr. Jose Sanchez.
We can't hear.
1 second. Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mayor, council members, Jose Sanchez, Rosemead Boulevard. I really don't know what else to say that I have not said before. My community and I have been asking Public Works to address the funding and vibration emanating from the trench failed repair for 14 years, nearly the last 4 here directly at the City Council. And it is not the Public Works have not responded, but the responses have been inadequate. The Rosemead Boulevard trench was dug and backfilled only with asphalt in 2008, ignoring comments in the complaints about the concrete slabs. So repairs were made only to the asphalt overlay, which soon decayed. The bridge concrete slabs were again ignored in December 2021, this last December, by the Vita Samaration repair, which widened and repaired the trench as if it was all asphalt. This made the ponding and vibration more severe. Then in February 2022, just this couple of months, Public Works returned to rework the trench and called it Project 50041, except the daily status showed the work done did not follow the recommended engineering by MB5 for the joint concrete slabs road, which is CIP 50041. Undersized dowel pins were installed and heavy freight traffic was allowed to roll over the repair on steel plates before the trench backfill was allowed to dry. Plus, the asphalt overlay was not properly compacted, and now it is deformed and distorted, and the ponding and vibration is worse. So more than once, Public Works has demonstrated that it does not have the expertise to properly address the damage at the Rosemead Boulevard trench. Meanwhile, we continue to endure the severe and damaging ponding and vibration. So now what? As I asked before, what other government agency, county or state, can be approached by the municipality to solve this problem? The interim director claims that Public Works is impeded from reworking the trench due to the fiber optic installation, which is not true. Smoothing the asphalt overlay at the trench as a temporary repair has no impact in any fiber optic cable work. So I'm asking the City Council to direct Public Works to immediately address the deformation and distorted asphalt overlay as a temporary repair and consult with highway engineering experts at Caltrans or another agency to assist and determine any and all work required to properly restore the Rosemead right-of-way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. For the record,
And I don't know what the sound is. There's a lot of sound in the background, so I don't know if you heard me right.
We can hear you very well, thank you. And I want to acknowledge for the record, we did receive your written email correspondence. And we also received correspondence from the Smith family for public comment regarding the Del Rey restaurant. So I wanted to acknowledge that for the record. Do we have any more speakers online?
No, that includes our public comment for via Zoom.
Thank you. Now we'll move to public comment for individuals that are here at City Hall. I'll start with Lauren Talbot regarding our Pico Rivera Library updates.
Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Lauren Talbot, and I am the Community Library Manager at Pico Rivera Library and Rivera Library. We have some great programs for kids and teens coming up at the Pico Rivera Library in the next few weeks. Tomorrow, Wednesday, April 27th at 4 p.m., we are having a program on the dangers of vaping for teens and their parents, presented by the Los Angeles Centers for Alcohol and Drug Use. On Saturday, April 30th at 4 p.m., teens will learn about aerodynamics, paper airplane design, and then test out their paper airplanes in a competition. On Wednesday, May 4th at 4 p.m., families are invited to join us for Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you, where we will have Star Wars-themed activities, crafts, and games for all ages. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to comment that if you haven't already been to the parks in our city, the theme is Return of the Wreck, and all of our parks have a Star Wars theme. So thank you for that. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and my sons as well, so thank you for that. Next, we have Zara Gorgani. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, but if you can come up, it's regarding the Pico Gardens. Is he here? Oh, she. I'm sorry. And can you tell us how to pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Sure, it's Zara Grabani.
Got it. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for having me today. To all the residents of Pico Rivera, we would like to extend a sincere apology for the inconvenience that was caused on 4/20 of the closure of Rosemead. A Pico Rivera Gardens resident was issued an eviction notice and ultimately barricaded himself in his room. This required the presence of Pico Rivera Sheriff's Department, special teams, and SWAT. We are grateful for the resources that helped resolve this rare occurrence. Pico Rivera Gardens is an assisted living that is a home and sanctuary to many of those who suffer from disabilities and mental health issues. These individuals cannot care for themselves. We provide housing, food, and medical care to prevent them from becoming homeless. Mental illness is not a choice, so it's vital that we provide quality care and support to those affected. Early Wednesday morning, these residents were abruptly uprooted and forced to evacuate their home without a sense of when they would be able to return. Pico Park graciously opened their doors to provide food and shelter to the evacuated residents from Pico Rivera Gardens. Watching City Council members, sheriffs, Parks and Recreation staff, Red Cross volunteers, and our own staff roll up their sleeves and create an emergency operations center for the residents was overwhelming, heartwarming, and admirable. The Pico Rivera Gardens is essential in providing assistance in preventing homelessness for people with medical needs. We ask you to recognize the importance of this facility in caring for human beings. The residents of Pico Rivera Gardens are people in need. It is truly a humbling experience to witness the coordination and support that was conducted by the entire city of Pico Rivera as a result of this incident. We teach our kids that everyone is welcomed in this entire city, and watching everybody come together is truly that, including the mentally ill. We are thankful to the City of Pico Rivera, City Council members, Parks and Recreation, the Department of Mental Health, and all the volunteers that came together during this time for the Pico Rivera Gardens residents. We thank the Pico Rivera Gardens staff, their poise, and their high-stress situation. We also commend the bravery of the Pico Rivera Sheriff's Department, special teams, and SWAT, who took immediate action and spent hours to ensure the safety of all residents and the public. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Michael Stock, also regarding Pico Gardens. No? Okay, thank you. Do we have any other speakers? None? Okay. Let's go on to our consent calendar with our successor agency and water authority. I would like to disclose that regarding items number 8 and 12, I did receive contributions from Fiesta Taxi and NASA during my campaign almost 2 years ago. But I do not have a conflict of interest, so I will be able to vote on that. Yes, City Manager? Do you have something regarding the consent calendar?
Yeah, there was one speaker who wanted to speak on item number 6, Christine Guerrero.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped you. Sorry. I forgot about you. Come on up, please. Christine Guerrero, I do have it here. League of California Cities regarding Taxpayer Protections and Government Accountability Act.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. That's fine. We're up here, and it's all good. It's good to see you all. It's been a while since I've been here at City Hall. Certainly some changes in the chambers, but we're all face to face, so that's great. I'm here to talk about one of your consent items today, and I have a PowerPoint, and I don't. Okay, great. And I just wanted to provide some information from the League of California Cities. For those of you who are slightly newer on the council, and I haven't seen you since the pandemic, the League of California Cities is a statewide organization. We represent all 482 cities in the state. Pico Rivera is a member, and you all are all members. We provide education and advocacy for cities across the state. I'm here to talk about the California Business Roundtable ballot measure. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. This is a ballot measure that is currently being circulated, and the proponents are the California Business Roundtable. If you're not familiar with them, they are a statewide organization made up of CEOs of major corporations, including banks, oil companies, telecom companies, and various other large organizations in the state. They have a proposal that would amend the California Constitution to limit voter authority and input, adopt new and stricter rules for raising taxes and fees, and make it more difficult to impose fines and penalties for violations of state and, more importantly, local ordinances and laws. This puts a lot of money at risk for local governments, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that. This measure, if it qualifies, and signatures are due at the end of this week to qualify for the November 2022 ballot, voters will have a decision on this. The Cal Cities Board of Directors looked at this measure earlier in the year. They have taken a pose on this measure. I understand that the California Contract Cities Association has also taken the same position, mainly because this measure really puts a lot of fiscal uncertainty and harm to local authority and your decision-making here at the council and local voters in Pico Rivera. The measure undermines voters' rights and transparency and accountability. First of all, the measure would limit voter input by prohibiting local advisory measures where voters provide direction to city council members on how they want their local dollars spent. So a lot of times, a local sales tax measure or other revenue measure may be put on the ballot. It might be a general tax. But there's also a rider measure where voters say, we want this measure to be spent on public safety. We want it to prioritize towards housing. Any of those priorities that voters intend, this ballot measure would invalidate all that. It also changes our Constitution to make it more difficult for voters to pass measures needed to fund local services and local infrastructure. There's changes the threshold for citizens' initiatives to put measures on the ballot. And it would retroactively cancel measures that were passed by local voters. I know that Pico Rivera was one of the first cities in LA County to put a local sales tax measure 15 years ago, 12 years ago. So these provisions probably don't apply to Pico Rivera as much, but if you want to change your UT, update something like that, you'll be affected by this measure. Another reason why we oppose this measure is because it gives large corporations major loopholes to avoid paying their fair share and putting residents and taxpayers to pay more. So to give you an example, franchise fees, which are basically rent payments that corporations use to use taxpayer property, so light poles, streets, anything that voters own, that local governments own. This would require all costs to be reasonable, which is not very well defined in the measure. What they mean by reasonable is the minimum amount necessary to provide the service. And that's put into the Constitution, that would be put into the Constitution, and it's really an ambiguous term. What does it mean, minimum amount necessary? When you pave your roads, is it the cheapest asphalt? Is it a thin layer of asphalt? What does that mean? That's not defined. So it really opens up the city to litigation. So there's a lot of challenges to that, and the city would need to provide clear and convincing evidence to show what those costs are. So you could see the challenges that this would create for local governments. It also requires voter approvals for fines and penalties when an entity violates environmental health, public safety, or other local municipal codes. So a fine would either have to go to the voters, or there would be a really complicated and yet undefined in this measure adjudication process. In other words, these fines would have to go to a judge to be determined if they are valid or not. So at the end of the day, what this does for cities and cities like Pico Rivera is it opens the city up to additional lawsuits and bureaucracy. Basically, every time you're going to update your fee schedule, the city could be challenged to see if that's an actual cost, what is the minimum cost. Just the idea of doing business in a time when cities need to keep up with the cost of inflation and cost of services, it would make it a huge challenge for cities across California. So I just wanted to provide that information for you today. Again, we'll know at the end of this week if the proponents have submitted enough signatures to qualify the measure. They have to submit to the county registrars, and then the Secretary of State will validate those signatures over the next month. So I wanted to provide this update, and I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Okay, now we can move in. Yeah.
I actually wanted to. I'm sorry. I actually wanted to table this item. I particularly think that it's premature that the city takes a stand on something that may or may not garner the signatures. So we don't know if this actually is going to be a ballot measure. If it is, in fact, a ballot measure, then I think it should come before us, and then we could take a stand at that point in time. But I think this is a premature stand by the city at this point. And I'd like to hear we heard the con. I'd like to hear a pro if this were to become a ballot measure, just so that we were informed on both sides.
Okay, so you have a motion to
table item number 6. I'm not necessarily against it or in favor of it, but I just think it's a bit premature at this moment.
So motion to continue item number 6 to
a future
meeting.
city council meeting, yes.
Is there a second? None? Okay, do we have a subsequent motion?
Madam Mayor, you can vote on this item in
As part of the
conjunction with all
consent
other
calendar. Okay.
items as well.
And shall I, there could be a motion to approve items number 4 through 15, or shall we approve everything, including the successor agency and water authority? Do you recommend?
You can approve them all.
Okay.
Through 19.
Got it. So do I have a motion to approve all items on the consent calendar, items number 4 through 19?
Madam Mayor, I did want to pull items 11 and 12. I just want to make sure that all of us collectively as a group that we're conforming to our ethics obligation.
You can make a motion to approve, and then we can go into discussion, correct? City Attorney?
We can make a motion to approve with the exception of those 2 items and approve the remainder, and then have those 2 items for separate discussion.
Is that what you would like, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a motion to approve all items 4 through 19 with the exception of number 11 and 12.
Yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a roll call. All in favor?
Councilmember Elias?
Aye.
Councilmember Camacho?
Aye.
Councilmember Laura?
May I abstain from item number 6, or am I bound to, does my yes mean that I'm bound to number 6 also?
You can vote yes for all items with the exception of item 6.
Yes for all items with the exception of number 6. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Lutz?
Yes.
Mayor Dr. Sanchez?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to ensure that all of us as a body that we're in conformity with our ethics on 11 and 12. And if we are, and there's no disclosures, I'd like to just move for a motion to approve.
Should we, since 11 and 12 were pulled, should we?
Madam Mayor, this is Arnold Glassman, if you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, since item 12 has been pulled separately, on that item, Councilmember Camacho will need to excuse himself from the room due to FPPC regulations. And so we would need to take those separately since they've been pulled from consent. So if we can take those two items independently, that would be the better approach.
Okay.
And I would add that that's only on item number 12, but item number 11, we should vote separately and then I'll recuse myself.
Okay, so we're discussion, or we need a motion for item number 11.
A motion to approve item 11.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None? Motion is unanimous. Let's move on to item number 12. Councilmember Camacho, thank you.
Please let the record reflect Councilmember Camacho has left the council chambers.
Yes.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So I'd like the record to reflect that during my campaign, I funded 90% of my campaign with my own personal finances. I did receive $1,000 from SEIU because I'm pro-union. Other than that, I think there were a few family members that gave me money, but I accepted no money from any type of contractors. I used the vast majority of the money I used was my personal funds. So I have no relationship, financial relationship in regards to item number 12.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the council? None? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we pass this item.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? None? Thank you, motion passes. Okay, we can call Councilmember Camacho back.
Discussion.
Yeah, that's it.
No discussion.
Thank you. Okay.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry for interruption. I wanted to comment on the fact that on the consent items, just want to report that on the item on the trash.
NASA?
Item number 8, I did receive a contribution from NASA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to our regular agenda items, number 20 to 23. Do we have any motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve these items.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None? Motion passes. Next, we move on to our city manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. A couple updates. If you recall, there was an email that was sent out regarding virtual City Hall. It's been taking quite some time to get that all put together. You have a copy of that email, and I wanted to share with you on the screen. It's currently in beta testing right now with staff, and we also like your input on some of the functions. I'm going to turn it over to Javier to give a brief overview. IT and admin have been a key player, as well as all staff, in creating this virtual City Hall. So I'll turn it over to Javier to give a brief description of that.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you very much. Javier here, Assistant to the City Manager. As you're all well aware, we've been working on this project now for just over a year and a half. We did launch this effort right in the middle of the pandemic, which made it somewhat difficult to get it up and launched sooner than later. It presented a number of challenges with respect to meeting with our staff and a number of other issues that we faced during that period. But nevertheless, what you see before you here is in many ways what we consider a draft of our new city website. It has been sent out citywide to all staff, including council members, for internal review, comments, and feedback. So we are requesting that you please provide, or at least review and provide as much comments as you possibly can so that we can incorporate them into the next iteration prior to it going live for public review and for further comment. But anyhow, just a quick overview of what this incorporates here. You have, of course, the council members will be working within each of you individually to create a welcome message here. We also have a series of tiles that illustrate some of the various services that we provide here as a city. A couple things that I just wanted to highlight that are now available. For example, you have the council meeting and agenda center, something that we've been working on with the clerk's office. Here you have the council agenda for tonight's meeting. You can also pull up the archives that date all the way back to August of last year. You can peruse that at your leisure, but just to highlight that, we have also identified, obviously, the annual budget, which we have here. We'll be putting in, as far back as our history show, all the various budgets that have been approved in prior years in a carousel, but this provides you an opportunity to read the entire budget in a unique way, which allows you to kind of break it down by bookmarks. If you want to skip ahead to different individual pages, as an example, if you wanted to look at the administration section of the budget, you can do so here. So a little bit more of an interactive feel with the city budget here. If you go back to the home screen, we have also incorporated a couple of other things. One in particular is the city manager's report. I know that council, as well as an outcome from the strategic working group and survey that was conducted, one of the main things that was brought to attention was the need to improve our communications from the city manager and the city manager's office to the rest of the organization. So as a result of that, we were able to compile the first city manager's report for the month of April 2022, and we'll be doing that on a monthly basis. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that incorporates, you go here to the departments, city manager, scroll down a bit, and here eventually you'll have a full archive as we build out these monthly reports. But if you click on it, provides you a series of updates related to important topics that either council members have asked for, or special events or unique things that are taking place in our community. Steve, not sure if you wanted to touch on this or anything in particular, but
if you just scroll down, just to take a quick look at what we're doing. For example, last council meeting, we had certain questions that go to the order. This gives you an update on what that was discussed. As we continue to scroll down, we'll give COVID-19 updates. We'll give department updates. Each department will give an update on, I would say, major projects. And you continue to scroll down, you'll see this will be constantly updated, giving all stakeholders the opportunity to see what's going on in real time, giving an update on economic development efforts, public works, and all our various department functions. So it's pretty robust. We'll continue to keep this updated on the monthly basis. And of course, the goal is to bring more transparency, more communication efforts on what we're trying to do. I heard it from the council. We do a lot. And one of the things I want to make sure that we get that information out to the various stakeholders. So again, I want to thank all staff for working very hard on this, and we'll continue to refine it, make improvements where it needs. But again, just one more opportunity for us to get as much information out. As part of this, I also wanted to turn it over to our Director of Public Works. One of the things Council had also made comments about how robust our Public Works program is. And so now we have the ability to share that information with, all stakeholders on what that's going to look like, and continue to keep that update and putting it up on the virtual City Hall as well. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Terry Rodriguez to go over that.
You doing the main one or the marquee?
I think I've got to go outside this. They gave me 2 links at the top, so I'm going to step outside of this. So thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm really excited about this. The last fall, this was an outgrowth of our Public Works team really getting together in one of our meetings last fall and thinking about the huge number of Public Works projects that we've had underway or that were coming along this year, and trying to figure out a way to communicate that with not only the community, but within the staff and other departments within City Hall. We went out with an RFP, and we retained a firm by the name of Trepepe Smith. Danielle Rodriguez is here tonight with us, representing Trepepe Smith, and started working on a concept of a CIP story map, if you will. And the CIP story map, which I'm going to show you this evening, is something that will fit in to the new city's website, but it also will be launched in the existing city's website. We hope to have that, our plan is to have that launched by Monday, so that the citizens can look and see what the city is doing in the way of capital projects. One thing we know in engineering and in public works is that there's a bit of pain that comes with investing in infrastructure. There's a lot of disruption, there's construction activities, there's things going on all over the city, and it's important for the citizens, I believe, to understand why we're doing projects, what we're doing, what's happening in their neighborhood. So if you could bear with me a little bit, this mouse and my eyes don't always coincide. So this, when you go into the city's website, there will be a location where you can link in to the storyboard, the CIP storyboard, and there's 2 parts to this. One is going to be a part of the website that shows all of our capital projects. And as you scroll down, there'll be a map of the city with all of our capital projects shown, and there's several ways to access all of our projects. If someone lives in a particular neighborhood, say, and they want to find out what's going on in their neighborhood, they can simply hover over a line or a dot or a marker, and that will tell them, if I click on it correctly, that'll tell them what's going on at that location. It'll provide a bunch of information, the project type, the schedule of the project, the budget, and some of the description of the project. That's one way to access this information. This one happens to have a long description. There's also a secondary way, which is you can go to the table of contents, and on the left, all of our projects, and in fact, right now we have, I believe it's 55 represented on this table on the left, so someone can go directly to, say, a project. This is the renovation of the Rio Hondo Park Playground, where the map will come up and it'll provide project overview, the schedule, the details of the project, what's happening, the benefits of the project. Sometimes it's why we even embarked on the project, the budget, and then we've embedded photos, which are the completed, in this particular case, the completed renovations, because it just recently opened, as you well know. In some cases, it will be the conditions prior to the project being constructed, because the project might be in design. It may be construction projects while the construction is being actually worked on. So we can go back up to the table of contents, go down through any project that a citizen might want to, or a staff member may want to get more information on. We also have just a complete listing of every project, not a table of contents, but every project that you can just continue to scroll down. So that's a third way you can go through projects. If someone wants to just scroll down to every project, the map will move to that project as you roll over from one project to another. A second part of this story map will be what we call our Marquee Projects. And that is, we've chosen 11 projects that are more significant, more impactful. There's no real science behind that. We just picked sort of the top. We tried to pick the top 10, but ended up with the top 11 in this case. And it's similar. We have a map of, this is a map of all the projects in the city again, but then across the top are these 10, or 11, I should say, marquee projects, which are major projects, such as you recognize, the Durfee Avenue grade separation project. Talks about it, gives a lot of background on it, budget, projects, pictures before, the rendition of what it's going to look like, which we will be seeing here in the next month or so at the grand opening. And this talks about the funding. This particular one also has a project site associated with it because it's the Alameda Corridor East Project website. So it connects to that, and you can get a lot of information on the project. So so going back, you could also, this will also link to the city's capital improvement program, which you'll be able to go and read the entire city's capital improvement program. There's a couple of other people and groups I'd like to mention who worked on this really diligently. We started last October doing this. I've already mentioned Trepepi Smith, who was our lead consultant really in putting the whole the story map together. Infinity Technologies, who provides our IT and GIS services. Mark Dunford's here tonight representing them, and they did a tremendous amount of work making this all fit together in really the back office, all the GIS work and the IT work that goes into it. One group that was really fantastic was the media group, the city's media group. The number of photographs and things that they got for us was just amazing. 55 projects, going out, getting photographs, going through archives, getting old photographs, and really filling this out with that information has been great. And then, of course, all the project managers in the city's engineering and public works department, because they each worked on all of their individual projects. So we're really proud of this. We're going to continue to make enhancements. And of course, it's a living document. Projects, well, for instance, soon we'll be approving a new budget, which will likely have new projects, which will show up on this project CIP story map. And then projects will get completed. They'll move to a completed section, and they'll be constantly updated so that people will have real-time information on projects. So apologize for the length of that, but we in Public Works are really pretty excited about this. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Camacho.
Yeah, I just want to commend the staff, the city manager. This is a couple years in the making, and to see now this come to fruition when we talk about holding our city accountable, our staff accountable, our city council accountable, you can't get more transparent in this. I have not seen this in other cities that I have a lot of colleagues, and I ask them these particular questions because we want to have our residents who have access to all the information that we have access to. And so we've talked about so many good projects, but we're doing a terrible job in telling the story. But in addition, there's the completed projects, and then there's the projects in the pipeline. And this is an opportunity for our residents to see. They don't have to necessarily come to a city council meeting, but see what's happening and be able to tell us whether they like it or they don't, or they want some changes. I mean, this is true transparency. And if they see something wrong, please tell us, or see something right, please tell us as well. But I want to commend our city manager, our staff, everyone, the whole team. The GIS is very complicated, but for it to look and simplify it for the residents, that's just amazing. So congratulations.
I have a question. Is this available by mobile app as well? Will it come out similarly, or is it only for computer?
Yes, thank you for that question, Madam Mayor. It's available on all platforms, including mobile.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I just want to echo the sentiment. Great job. When does this go live? And
we take it live on Monday.
Okay.
This Monday we'll go live on the city's existing website.
Okay.
And then, of course, when the new website comes out, it'll also be on that.
Sometimes I feel like we're in an echo chamber, staff and council and everyone who is in the weeds on some projects, and we're just talking to ourselves and we get excited. How do we push this website out to the public so that they're aware that this exists, so that they can start? What type of PR campaign do we have set up?
Yeah, so we actually do have planned an entire PR campaign when we release the virtual city hall and the new website. Once we finish the testing, we'll actually literally set up tents outside, have incentives for our residents to download the app. We'll be at the farmers market. We'll be at every event just to increase the folks to download the app.
Thank you. My favorite portion of the app is you can take a photo of graffiti, and it will actually map exactly where you are, location on the mobile app. And so I want to point that out to residents. You can point it out anywhere in the city. You can be anonymous, or you can include your information where staff can follow up and call you. So you can just snap a photo anywhere you're at if you're taking a walk and report that to the city so we can clean that up as soon as possible.
Yeah, and we'll have scheduled one-on-ones with individual council members just to run through the app. We want to make sure you truly understand the functionality of it. But more importantly, we want to set up personal dashboards for each council member. So literally, you'll know the number of cases, code enforcement cases, the type of cases, when it's been open, when it's been closed. All this information will be at your fingertips, bringing more accountability and transparency. In addition, it gives us management a tool to actually see the progress or lack thereof to make sure that things do get completed on time.
And you can actually track the reports. I think if you tracked mine, since I was a parks commissioner, I have about 1,000 for graffiti reporting.
If you take a look at the screen, this is what the dashboard will look like.
This is just an example that we put together relatively quick, but this is just to illustrate the power behind the system. So as you do, or as residents or anyone in the community provides us with service requests, all of that feeds into this back-end dashboard. And the beautiful thing about it is that you can customize this dashboard to your very respective liking. So if you are very interested in street light fixtures, we can set up a dashboard for that. If you're interested in graffiti, if you're interested in bulky items, or anything that we cover in our 311 system, you can track that moving forward. It also applies to our code and our parking enforcement system. Case management system. So this is just to give you an idea of the power behind that. Obviously, it ties in also with our GIS system. So the beautiful thing is you can click on practically anything here, pull up the cases themselves. So if you're interested in a particular case, you can pull it up. And then it brings up all that information regarding that particular case, everything from who has worked on it, when they worked on it, who it got transferred to, who they spoke to at that property, pictures of whatever was fixed. So it's pretty comprehensive. But again, not to get into a deep dive tonight, The overall idea is that you please take an opportunity to review everything that we've incorporated into virtual City Hall. And then when the time comes, we'll set up one-on-one meetings with each of you so that we can provide you with a curated showing of this 311 system and virtual City Hall. And with that, I think that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Javier, I have a question. How do we access city ordinances and the details thereof?
Yep, absolutely. So here in this particular case, and we have the ability to highlight it even further or to single it out, but in this particular case, you would go to City Clerk, which is the holder of our records here. And then you can pull up in various different ways. One is you could pull up our municipal code, which kind of links us directly to our complete municipal code book. And then from here, without having a particular ordinance in mind, you would simply look up that particular issue and then pull it up, and then eventually it would have a link that would pop up that respective ordinance. And we are looking to make improvements to this as well, so that's a little bit easier to maneuver and a little more user-friendly. But that kind of illustrates really how you can identify a very particular ordinance that you might be interested in.
I'd like to see actually on the homepage a little icon for ordinances.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So one of the things that we do here, and it's something that we were discussing not too long ago, is to add a fourth line of tiles or buttons, and one of them could be the municipal code, which would include any ordinances that we would pass here in the city. So we'll certainly take a look at that. We'll take that back and see when we schedule our one-on-one. Hopefully by that point we'll have an update for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else in the city manager's report?
Yeah, just a couple more items. I'm proud to say that recently with our pension obligation bonds, we were rated by Standard & Poor's as AA, which is extremely strong. I don't know, Angelina, if you want to go into detail on that whole, it was a pretty tough interview process that both Angelina and myself had to go through, but I think the report that S&P gave out was spoke volumes of the sound fiscal policies that this council has implemented over the past few years.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm going to ask Gabe to pull up the pension obligation bond presentation. We did have a short presentation with the item, but I'll just move into slide number 7, Gabe, if you can, and then I'll have Brandon from UFI present so he can give you a little bit of background as to what S&P looked at and considered in evaluating us and rating us as AA. And I'm sorry, Brandon, I always mess up your last name, so.
That's okay. Most people do.
Slide 6, please. Apologies.
Thank you. And good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and staff. As indicated, we have some fantastic news to report in S&P's affirmation of the city's outstanding credit rating on its existing debt at AA minus and assigning a AA rating to the proposed pension obligation bonds. So as you can see in the table in the top right corner, it puts the city in among the highest category for investment grade ratings at, the third highest. So it's really a fantastic result. The lease revenue bonds are rated one notch lower, and that's a standard practice by S&P. It's due to the non-appropriation risk for the lease payments. So again, I think staff should be, and the city should be commended for the financial stewardship that really led to this result. And just quickly, I don't want to spend too much time here, but a few things that they really noted in their report were the enhanced reserve policy and strong institutional framework. So again, it's a great result. This slide shows how the city compares to its neighbors. So a AA puts you at among the highest rated for other cities in the area who have issued POBs. And to further that, at the bottom of this slide, you see
it puts you on par with major cities in Southern California at AA. So it's something I think the city should be proud of, and I'll kick it back to Angelina and Steve. I don't know if you have any other comments on this, but we did want to report this good news as part of the item.
Thank you. That's it. One other reminder is the retreat this Saturday. So starts at 8:30. So just want to make sure we'll have some light breakfast there and some lunch. So hopefully we can have a good, robust conversation on our goals. One thing, Pam, I don't know, just to mention is Streamland Park, the issue with the transformer, it did blow out. We did repair it. However, Edison still has to go out and inspect it, and that takes some time. So I'm working with their legislative folks to hopefully get somebody out sooner rather than later. So just FYI. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you.
I do have a comment, Mayor, and I just want to, once again, it's important to highlight this particular rating as an example of us going to AA. But in addition to that, not too long ago, we were, for the state of California, considered a low-risk city on our financials through our audits. So it's important to highlight these things because as people recognize how the city's moving and what we're doing to hold ourselves accountable, sometimes we hear rhetoric and, we want to put out the facts. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a big deal. It's wonderful. Thank you. Let's move on to our good of the order. This is for items AB 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have any travel or any business, city business, it includes also new business and old business. I'd like to remind the council as well. We may not discuss items that have not been agendized, nor may we discuss items that are on the closed session agenda as well. So usually I let you go first, but I'd like to give an update because I'm super excited. We had a meeting regarding our Veterans Resource Center, and that's what we're calling it right now, but it may have a little bit of a different name of a hub or something to that nature. We had a meeting with our Veterans Resource Officer, our park staff. There were 4 locations that were identified through staff, through council, as well as members of the ad hoc committee. It was the library, the senior center, the Natividad Center, as well as Rivera Park. The ad hoc committee gave us recommendations in terms of they wanted somewhere central. The city gave us recommendations as well as the ad hoc in terms of something that would be functional and welcoming to veterans. So we are in the process, I believe, of identifying that final center. Staff also advised the ad hoc that although some spaces might seem ideal for the senior center, we don't want to displace programming or existing programs. So, for instance, the Natividad Center already has 3 tenants there, and if we did use that space, we might have to vacate those or work out some deal to work with that. So that was kind of the least favorable to not displace any existing programs or operations going on in the city. And so we're going to be working with staff. I think we're getting very close to a possible grand opening, so we'll come back with some updates, and we're working with our parks director as well as the ad hoc and our Veterans Resource Officer to move this forward for our Veterans Resource Center. So we're working very diligently at that. So I just want to let you know that we're going to have that coming very soon. Secondly, I was able to attend my first NALEO, National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, training on emergency preparedness. The city actually did not. I received a full scholarship to attend this summit in Chicago. The city did not have to pay anything toward the travel, so it was a wonderful opportunity. Councilmember Camacho and I got to attend, and it was perfect timing. We learned a lot about different types of emergency threats, including cybersecurity, fire, water, a number of things. So I have a lot of questions. I'll be touching base with staff to make sure that we're secure. We came up with some information to share with the city, and that was a great resource. I also attended the farmers market, which is Wednesday evenings. I believe 5 to 9 p.m. at Smith Park, and I bought some fresh, wonderful strawberries. So if you have a chance, go out and attend. And then lastly, I wanted to share, I was able to go attend in person the Meet and Mingle at the Senior Center, and it was an amazing time. There was a live band. The seniors were very, very happy, so I would like to share that information. So thank you. And who would like to go next? Councilmember Lara.
Great, thank you. Just a few items. Director Garcia and I, Mike Garcia, we attended a small meeting at Westland Estates, the mobile home group, and it was a listening session. We wanted to listen in on what their concerns were and how was their perception of the rent stabilization ordinance that we passed several months ago. We are still putting together the database, the registration database. They had some concerns about that, but we managed to address their concerns. I was pleased to hear that it appears as if the owners of the mobile home park are abiding by the 3% increases, because some residents are getting their yearly increase and it's 3%. And that's what we had anticipated. So it was a good meeting. They were very grateful. They were very grateful on what had been done for them. I also want to talk about the incident with the Pico Rivera Gardens that took place. But I just want to give kudos to the staff and to our captain, Captain Hutak. She was in the command center. She was up to date. She was giving us updates. They had a really good grasp on what was happening, literally like second by second, because they had multiple angles in which they were able to take a look at this individual. City staff, wow. Julia, there's a few people I'd like to single out. Julia Gonzalez, she did an amazing job. Mike Garcia, Pam Ugar, a lot of the other Parks and Rec staff. You never know what you're gonna. It's almost like a grab bag working here. You never know what you're gonna get. Like, yeah, they showed up, and Julia was in charge of 130 residents. 130 residents, and so I managed to go, and it was quite an interesting situation, but I was just really impressed by the way staff handled that, and there were the workers that were there. They were really grateful that the staff was just so disarming with these patients who are mentally challenged, mentally unstable. And, we had the LA County Department of Mental Health there. The LA County Disaster Management had shown up. There were so many different agencies involved in the Red Cross provided cots. So there were so many different agencies involved in making sure that those residents were cared for. And I get the volatile discussion in our community about that place, but I don't want to minimize what staff did. They really moved heaven and earth to make sure that people were treated with dignity and respect. Just lastly, 2 items. Director Ugar and we attended along with, I know Council Member Camacho was on the Zoom feed. We presented the project, our joint project that we've been working on with the school district in regards to the potential rehabilitation of Ruben Salazar Park School, the green space, so that we can maximize it for first the students and then secondly the public. It was received warmly. We're going to follow up with that. And lastly, I just want to thank once again city staff again. There was an incident of graffiti at Rio Vista Park. A resident texted me. It was on a Saturday morning. I think she texted me at like 8:30 in the morning, and I sent this off to city staff. There was someone 30 minutes later at that park removing that graffiti. So thank you to everyone.
In addition, thank you to our sheriff, Deputy Sepulveda. She has been very vigilant in patrolling our parks. And Rio Vista has historically been a quiet park, but for some reason there's been some graffiti there. So if you can thank Deputy Sepulveda, and she's really making the rounds. And people can now report that on the app as well as calling us, and it'll get done very quickly. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'd like to commend the entire city staff on all the projects. Well, let's start off with the overall rating, the credit rating for Standards & Poor's. It's similar to pretty much someone who has top-notch credit score, and they could pretty much buy any car at the lowest interest rate. Well, that's City of Pico Rivera. Pico Rivera has pretty much the highest credit rating that a city could have. So I just want to extend a round of applause for city staff. And I'd like to start off with that round of applause now. That makes all of us proud when we come and sit here. We represent a city that's doing well. And the other item I just wanted to say, we have so many events that are coming around the corner. And I'm just going to name a few. We're going to have National Night Out, the Summerfest, the Moo Run, right? The Fiestas Patrias, the Halloween Spooktacular, Veterans Day, the tree lighting, the food giveaway, and the toy giveaway. Those are all events that are coming around the corner. And, you know, Director Ugar and the rest of the staff, you got a lot of work ahead of you, but it's something that you can't tackle because you've done it before. So we're proud of you. And then I just want to say the media team, there's a lot of pictures that you're going to be taking. So the pictures that you've put up on that website are amazing. I'm so proud to be a council member here in the city of Pico Rivera, and we're just going to continue to do great things for the community, and that's because Pico Rivera cares. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Elias?
First, I want to congratulate Alexis Hernandez. He is the coordinator of our teen court, El Rancho Teen Court, which is a partnership between the city and the school district. He was delegated or assigned a commissionership for juvenile justice by Supervisor Hahn. So that's a big achievement for the teen court again, you know, which has gained statewide recognition. So again, I wanted to congratulate him. Also, what I wanted to do was I wanted to ask the status of the Code of Ethics amendments as they stand in the agenda. Mr. City Manager?
City Attorney?
Yeah, City Attorney, Arnold, I think he's still on the line.
If Arnold's still on the line, maybe he can give an update on that. I'm not sure if he's still on the line.
And I do believe we were going to discuss that at the retreat as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's going to be discussed at the retreat? Okay. All right. Also, Madam Mayor, you appointed an ad hoc for parking situation, but you didn't select a chairperson to do it. So, you know, could you, so then we can get the meetings going?
Yes, we'll identify that.
Okay. Okay, and my next item right here is my reaction to the event that occurred on April 20th. Now, I'm going to react by citing my own negative experiences with this facility.
City Attorney, can you advise us in this matter? This is
Yes,
the
Madam Mayor.
incidents regarding the Pico Garden.
Yes, as City Council, I would caution council members to refrain from speaking too much on this topic, as this item is, it was a recent event. We understand that. However, it may be coming before the City Council at a later date, and your role as City Council members, you have to be neutral. So I would advise from providing too much opinion regarding issues related to this location during public meetings. So I will leave it at that, but again, I cautioned you against providing too much opinion with respect to a particular property within the city that may be coming before the City Council for various matters. So
I don't understand what your statement is right here. What are you saying?
I'm saying that you should refrain from expressing strong opinions on specific properties or businesses which frequently come before the City Council for decisions.
Is this going to come in front of the council?
Potentially.
Potentially.
Well, I can't live with potential. It has to come in front of it. mine is going to be requested as agendized.
So we do have again, I would just caution City Council from expressing strong opinions on businesses, properties, or matters that may be coming before the City Council in which you serve as potentially judges or adjudicators regarding decisions that need to be made. So that's my recommendation.
Well, then let me speak, and then you could, interrupt me if I am expressing opinions or I'm violating
Councilmember, if I may, if you're concerned that you would like to bring this to the agenda, you can request to the city manager that this item be agendized.
That's what I intend to do.
He's suggesting
Madam Mayor.
do not give any favor or disfavor of a certain business or organization.
Councilmember Elias, if I may just, expand on what I said, which is basically your role as City Council members. You have various functions that come before you from time to time. One of them is to serve as a neutral decision-making body, and you have to afford due process to these businesses that come before you. There's case law, courts have decided that found council members or planning commissioners who are outspoken prior to items coming before them are forced to recuse themselves, or their votes will not count because they are considered biased. So what I'm saying is, I would just caution the council from expressing specific opinions regarding a business or a property that may come before you in the future. And again, case law does state that it may cause you to be recused from an item. So,
okay, I understand that. Again, you interrupt me if I'm violating what you're talking about. What I wanted actually to do was ask the captain, if you could, to explain to us what the situation was.
Well, I can provide a brief synopsis. Much of it was covered with the statement that was made earlier. Essentially, there was an eviction in process. The individual refused to come out during that eviction process, at which time there were threats made with regards to alluding to arson, attempts to light items on fire. He did produce a firearm, which was ultimately determined to be a replica firearm. During the course of that time, he barricaded in his unit, and there were a number of resources that were called out, including, as was stated, our SWAT team, other stations, the mental health unit, our crisis negotiations team, and it was essentially a standoff for several hours. Ultimately, he did come out of his residence, and the residents that were located, that lived there, were relocated for the time being. And they ultimately, at the end of the evening, they were escorted back to the gardens once it was safe and clear for them to return.
Now, Captain, you've provided a report before in terms of the number of incidences that we have to respond to, in terms of the facility. Can you give me some numbers as to how many times we have to go over there to respond to some of the complaints that they may have?
Well, it varies month to month, year to year. Year to date for 2022, there have been 46 calls for service to that location.
46?
46.
26?
46.
46, okay. Do we know what there was the previous year?
I would have to look at that, but yes.
All right. Well, let's see, I'll be asking your opinion, so I'll hold back from that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Camacho.
Just one last item here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of the ad hoc committee of the veterans. Could you please invite me to the meetings that you go?
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, a couple of comments, some made by my colleagues. I'm glad that Councilmember Lara met with our mobile home park residents, and to hear that what they requested is being utilized and working to their favor. It's welcoming. I also just want to, on the event that occurred at the Pico Rivera Gardens, echo the Councilmember Lara's statement. It's important to recognize when there is an emergency here in our city, how quickly our city mobilizes, our staff, our sheriff department, everyone comes together. I've been part of quite a few emergencies where they're preparing for the big earthquakes or, apartment fires or people being displaced, but to see how our city mobilizes, and we learn every time. That's why emergency preparedness, it's a learning. It's just learning from items. And from what I saw, what I read, what I heard, and kudos to the sheriff department, handled the situation well. It's unfortunate that not only the residents there, but our other residents in the area were inconvenienced, and there was a tragedy, no doubt, However, it's just, again, I just want to commend how quickly the sheriff and our staff mobilized, and that's something that needs to be recognized first, and speak positively about how our staff and our first responders respond to that. Also, as relates to that joint project with the El Rancho Unified School District and the city of Pico Rivera as it relates to Salazar School and moving to potentially create a park space that exists today, but turn it into a better use. And that collaboration, that I've always promoted, that collaborative governance here in the city. We represent the same constituency, we share the same boundaries, and that effort, to be able to work together, it's existed for decades. Pio Pico School and Pio Pico Park, Passage Park, is a recent example. And I think we can continue doing more of those projects together, especially even more so when we're losing 60% of our green space due to the Whittier Dam safety improvement projects. But, as far as our staff, just again, commend Director Ugar from the Parks and Recs Department for stepping up and really taking it to a whole different level. And then as far as just, I heard the meet and greet, the senior meet and greet went very well. I couldn't attend. But I was not going to attend as a council member. I was going to attend as a guest now that it's 50 plus. You'll be seeing me there more often. So. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. One last item I forgot to mention. We did have another incident with the young child that was bit by the pit bulls. And we have a sympathy. The young girl is 1 year old. We heard she's recovering at USC Medical Center. I do want to send my sympathy to the family, but I'd like to also direct our city manager. I don't know that the average resident knows what to do or who to call should there be an animal incident, whether it's your animal or anyone else's. I know that Siaka is our provider, and Councilmember Camacho sits on that board. So if we could provide maybe a public service announcement, information on animal safety, children and animal safety, any information that we can provide to the public and remind them that if there's any emergencies in this matter. And again, I believe the sheriff responded to that as well as Siaka. So that was an unfortunate incident, and we'll hopefully follow up, and this child will be recovering soon, hopefully. Thank you. With that, we have one closed session item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, two.
We do have 3 items listed as stated by staff earlier in the first part of the meeting. Item A has been pulled. That leaves 2 items on closed session. The first item is item B, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D4. Initiation of litigation, 1 matter. The second item is item C, public employee evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, subsection B1. Title of the position is City Manager. That concludes my reading, and it would be appropriate to recess and close session.
Thank you.